I was having y'all. It's your boy Rico from StreetScores. We have a few random topics to dive into today, and I still have a couple of more videos I want to get out because I definitely want to talk about all of the undrafted free agents tonight before rookie minicamp start tomorrow. But we have some experts saying that the Washington Commanders, after going to the NFC Championship last year, are better in 2025. We're going to dive into that. Of course, we have bigger Jayden Daniels and skinnier Deebo Samuel already working in practice today. I have a picture of this so you can see like exactly how much bigger Jayden Daniels is and how much smaller Deebo Samuel is. They are ready to go, man. Also, you saw three-time Pro Bowler edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney got cut by the Panthers. We're going to dive into whether the Commanders should sign him or not. And also, we have an official release date for this new Washington Commanders helmet concept, that like the real one that the NFL will eventually put out there and the Commanders will actually wear potentially on Sundays. And before we get into everything, of course, I have a fun fact for you by the end of this video if you stay all the way to the end. And make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video, man. And without further ado, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. Shouts out to the new intro for any of y'all that may have not seen it just yet. You know, same music, but, you know, we had to change a few things that you're looking at. But either way, let's start with the fact that Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus did an entire 5-minute segment breaking down how the Commanders are one of the most improved NFL teams. They had like a whole, like, I think hour-long video picking their favorite teams that improved the most, and the Washington Commanders were one of them. And they even took like a separate clip of it, 5 minutes long, and they're breaking down how the Washington Commanders are one of the most improved teams. They bring up Laramie Tunsil. They bring up the entire offseason. And I mean, like, it's a whole 5 minutes of just, this is why the Commanders, even after going to the NFC Championship game, and they even acknowledged that, even though they just went to the NFC Championship game, they got better going into this next season, definitively better. Like, it's not even up for debate. Trevor Sikkema even said, quote, "They made a pretty deep playoff run last year, and they got even better." So watch out, man. I know a lot of Commanders fans are a little down on what we did in this offseason. I know some people are down on what we did on the draft, but trust me, I've already been telling you. But if you don't want to believe me, you have a lot of the experts out here feeling the exact same way. You also have Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson of the 33rd team. They also did like it's kind of a little different. Instead of the most improved teams in 2025, they broke it down to the top 10 off seasons out of the entire NFL. And we were, of course, on that list as well. And they even showed like our notable offseason moves. And they said with the title, the Commanders are looking to improve on their 12-win season last year. Of course, you can see on the right side, the guys that left the franchise, and then also the guys that we added via free agency, trade, draft, all of that type of stuff. And they even said in their video, a whole 4-minute clip dedicated to just the Commanders alone, they did like a second-year outlook on Jayden Daniels specifically. They said, quote, "I thought Jayden Daniels looked like a future MVP last year," unquote. And so they're really high on Jayden Daniels' rookie season, and they feel like he's only going to keep getting better and better. And so if you combine how Trevor Sikkema feels like the Commanders are a better team all around compared to last year, and then you have the 33rd team's experts feeling like Jayden Daniels was it looks like a future MVP of the NFL. You put those together, that's an elite quarterback, that's an improved team. Why would we not at least go back to the NFC Championship game if we're just that much better? And then also, moving on, speaking of Jayden Daniels, as you can see on the screen right now, you have Zach Ertz, of course. Then you also have Jayden Daniels, who's obviously bigger, and Deebo Samuel, who's also a little slimmer. And those are the things that we wanted. Shouts out to the Washington Commanders because their personal Twitter account uploaded this themselves. And they just said, just going to leave this here because they already knew that we were going to see that picture and be like, whoa. I mean, come on now. We had a top 5 offense in the NFL last year. And now, not only with the additions of like trading for Laramie Tunsil, the draft class that you had with Josh Connolly at right tackle, Jalen Lane. I'm hoping Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt becomes our lead back at some point. I think he's really talented as well. I mean, we added so much talent this offseason. Even Nate Herbig, our backup center, I believe now, one of our backup interior offensive linemen, he should be starting on another line somewhere, and he's coming in as like our second stringer right now, arguably like our third string backup guard, you could say, because remember, basically, we had like statistically a top 15, top 12 offensive line last year. Now 2 starters from that offensive line are now backups in Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley. This offensive line is crazy. And so even on top of all of that, and then also like just the depth too, like with the fact that we brought back Noah Brown, KJ Osborne, hopefully actually being here for the entire offseason. Maybe he'll finally learn the playbook and do something besides just getting a holding penalty. That's all he did last year. Literally no catches, no nothing, just a holding penalty. And then, I mean, you also bring in Michael Gallup, who was an over 1,000-yard receiver just back in 2019. That's a pretty long time ago, but you know, the talent is there. I mean, we have much more depth in the receiver room right now. But on top of that, you're getting skinny Deebo Samuel too? Committed, focused, determined, motivated, skinny Deebo Samuel. Not the lazy one, not the one that's not taking the offseason seriously, because I don't know if y'all saw or heard this, but after we initially traded for Deebo Samuel, of course, every Commanders reporter like John Com and all of those guys were doing whatever they could to interview a lot of the 49ers reporters to kind of get some background information on like what went wrong with Deebo Samuel. Why has he not had the same year since he had in 2021? And a lot of people were saying, well, he was upset about contract negotiations, and as a way to kind of like go against them, he kind of cut off his nose despite his face in a way where he gained some additional weight, being lazy, not being motivated, and, you know, basically being like a disgruntled employee, and just went out there and wasn't as athletic as he was supposed to be, not as in great shape as he normally would have been if he was a more motivated player. And so now it looks like with the Commanders, looks like he has that motivation because he's looking the skinniest he's looked in a while. And so I'm not saying he's going to be 2021 Deebo Samuel, but I think he'll be fairly close to it. I think he'll be closer to that than a lot of these recent seasons that you've seen out of Deebo Samuel. Like I've already said, when we first traded for him, even before I realized that he was going to be skinny Deebo Samuel again, which does have me excited. But even before then, even lazy Deebo Samuel last year was still better than what people think. He just caught pneumonia at some point early on in the season and never really recovered until like the last couple of days. It literally affected his entire season, especially that middle chunk of like 8 games or something like that. So I feel like a lot of people would putting a little too much hate towards Deebo Samuel, not taking into account of the fact that like he like had some serious pneumonia and he still was going out there and playing, but he was not 100%. And so now you have him fully healthy and back in perfect shape. And then on top of the skinny Deebo Samuel, most notably, how about bigger and stronger Jayden Daniels? And I think he's the type of guy that adding some muscle is not going to slow him down. And even so, we don't need him to be super quick. I mean, he has eyes in the back of his head. As a quarterback in the pocket, I feel like that's more important than speed. I feel like his ability to get the ball out of his hands very quickly, that's more important than speed. I feel like his ability to diagnose everything the defense is doing pre-snap, even call audible sometimes, and then post-snap as well, as everything, the bullets are flying, he's able to, you know, zero in on, okay, this is the receiver I need to get the ball to at this point, this accuracy, this time, and all of that type of stuff. I feel like all of that is better than being faster. But even after all of that, I still feel like he's the type of guy that's, with the frame he has, he can gain muscle, the amount of muscle that you're seeing, and still be very fast. I still think even with the additional muscle that he's gained, he's going to be a top 3 mobile quarterback in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, you could probably throw Kyler Murray in there as well. I don't know if you consider Justin Fields a starting quarterback as far as speed goes, but Jayden Daniels is still going to be one of the fastest, quickest, most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, and him bulking up, adding some muscle, getting stronger is only going to help. That's going to make him more durable. That's going to be to where he can sustain more hits, even though I think he's going to take way less hits now that his offensive line is going from arguably top 15 last year to what I feel like is going to be a top 5 offensive line competing for the title of the best offensive line in football. Like I talked about last night, Dak Prescott had the best O-line in all of football for a couple of years, did nothing with it. Shouts out to Jalen Hurts. He had the best offensive line in football, you could argue, last year, really the last couple of years, and he went to one Super Bowl, and then he won another one just last year. Jayden Daniels is finally getting his offensive line. I think there's something to those having those elite offensive lines. I don't know, it's something in that NFC East water, man. We're just typically one of our teams going to be one of the teams that you consider having the best O-line in the NFL. I think we're next up, is my point. And so Jayden Daniels is going to already be kept way cleaner than he was last year, especially if we have a real run game. Now you have Deebo Samuel and Jalen Lane that are going to be able to do things outside of the backfield. You just get them the ball in the backfield, they'll make the rest happen. But on top of that, this guy's bigger and stronger. I mean, I'm so excited about the future of Jayden Daniels, man. And shouts out to Rico's Rag because he brings up a good point too. He said, imagine if someone had shown you this picture 2 years ago. Man, I would have thought you was crazy. Jayden Daniels, first of all, in the Commanders jersey at all, let alone Zach Ertz next to him and Deebo Samuel next to him, all in the burgundy and gold. That is actually really crazy when you really sit back and think about it, man. How much things can change in 2 years, making it to the NFC Championship game for the first time in my lifetime. New ownership, stadium on the way in 2030, draft on the way in Washington, D.C. in 2027. I mean, who would have thought, man? And we have one of the, I would argue, 3 best general managers in the NFL already, and that's how you're great long term, not just like a flash in the pan. So you have the elite franchise quarterback, the elite franchise general manager. We're good to go. On top of the elite coaching staff that we have with Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Wood Jr., all of these guys. I mean, Ken Norton Jr. is a linebackers coach in this team. Anthony Lynn is just a run game coordinator, running backs coach. Like, it's insane. So much of our offensive staff were getting interviews to go elsewhere, and they decided they prefer to stay here at least for another year, man. I mean, who would have thought? But going back to Jayden Daniels, shouts out to Warren Sharp for pointing out the fact that Jayden Daniels had only 48 attempts when trailing in the final 5 minutes of games. If we've released the requirement to 40 attempts, Jayden Daniels ranks as the #1 clutch quarterback out of 70 qualifying quarterbacks in the last 5 years. He was first in EPA per attempt with a +0.54. He was first in yards per attempt with 8.9. He was first in completion percentage with 75% and third in success percentage at 57%. Out of all qualifying quarterbacks in the last 5 years, Jayden Daniels is the most clutch. And then now you just gave him a way better offensive line. He has way better weapons, and he's getting bigger and stronger. And then also, shouts out to Louis Riddick for this one, because some people were debating like who's the best quarterback in the NFC East. I mean, it's obvious. Like, we don't even have to really debate this. But again, as you can see, man, total QBR, Jayden Daniels was 4th out of the entire NFL. Jalen Hurts 10th, Dak Prescott 29th. Pressure QBR, Jayden Daniels 3rd, Jalen Hurts 12th, Cooper Rush 15th, Dak Prescott 26th. Third down QBR, Jayden Daniels 5th, Jalen Hurts 10th, Cooper Rush 23rd, Dak Prescott 29th. And then CPOE, Jayden Daniels was first with Dak Prescott 18th and Jayden Daniels 19th, because that factors in like offensive line and weapons. You can see when it's purely a quarterback stat, when you take the quarterback and isolate him from what the rest of the team is around him, that's surrounding him, his supporting cast and everything, he's the best by far in the NFC East. It's not even close. But then when you include what these guys have around them, then that's when guys like Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott are better. But again, we're going from, I mean, our offensive line is way better. Our weapons are way better. So I'm thinking that Jayden Daniels could even leap it when it comes to the CPOE stat that you see right there. Shouts out to George Carmi because he brings up a good point. He said Jayden leading the NFC East in most quarterback metrics is incredibly impressive, especially since he was a rookie and didn't have a good supporting cast. We forget that he was seeing NFL defenses and schemes for the first time last year. I mean, this is crazy. More exposure, more in the Rolodex. Also, the CPOE should improve next year with an upgraded offensive line and Cliff opening up the offense as well. I think that's also a good point. So again, I just really want to emphasize that he's the best by far quarterback in the entire NFC East when it comes to things that we're just talking quarterback alone. But once you start to include the supporting cast, that's where he fell behind. But again, the supporting cast in 2025 is way better than 2024, which goes all the way back to the first thing that we talked about. The Commanders being one of the most improved teams in the NFL, which is insane because we were just at an NFC Championship game last year. And shouts out to Trevor Sikkema and those guys at 33rd team for also agreeing as well. So all of this just comes full circle, man. And I'm just trying to show y'all and tell y'all and break down to y'all why we are about to ball out this season, man, and why we should be excited as Commanders fans. Now, moving on to the next part of this video. Should the Washington Commanders go ahead and sign edge rusher Jadeveon Clowney? Now, of course, going into the draft, arguably going into the entire offseason, but especially by the time we got to the draft, you already knew our biggest need for this team was a pure pass rushing edge rusher. And we didn't accomplish that through the draft. And I'm happy that they went about the draft the way that they did. Of course, it would have been nice to get a really good edge rusher, but the way that the board fell, you only had 5 draft picks, and every time we selected, they went best player available. Josh Connolly Adam Peters, who's a genius. He's the guy that took us from 4 wins last year to 14 in one offseason. He's already being highly touted among NFL circles as one of the best general managers already. And he's just starting his 2nd year as a general manager for the Washington Commanders. That's the same guy that thought that Josh Connolly may even go as high as 10 to the Bears, and they were sweating every single pick until he got to 29, and they feel like they got the steal of the first round being able to get him at 29. They also firmly believe that if they didn't take him at 29, the Eagles would have taken him at 31, which is why when Howie Roseman called them to trade up from 32 to 29, we switched spots with the Eagles, moving us behind the Chiefs. Adam Peters was like, no. Because if we're at 32, they're going to take Josh Connolly, and then that would leave us with Josh Simmons, who I would argue you could still take right there. But I'm very happy that we got Josh Connolly, and Adam Peters and company are as well. But and then again, Trey Amos had no business being there at 61. Jayden Lane is arguably going to be a steal at round 4. By the time we got to Kane Madrano in the 6th round, there were no edge rushers I wanted. And I feel like betting and banking on elite athletic traits, I'm never mad at that. And then Ja'Cory Krosky-Maryland, I mean, y'all already heard me say it several times, several videos since we drafted him in the 7th round. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being the steal of the entire draft, especially as a 7th round pick. But again, we never truly addressed edge rushers specifically. Now, granted, Javonte Jean-Baptiste showed some random flashes last year occasionally. He was a 7th round pick in the 2024 draft. He showed some flashes in his rookie season, even he got hurt for a couple of games. Then you also added Dietrich Wise in free agency. Remember, you brought back Cleveland Farrell. You saw some potential in Dorrance Armstrong, especially some big flashes in that Detroit Lions playoff game that kind of disappeared in that Eagles NFC Championship game. But, I mean, if Dorrance Armstrong can bring that out of him a little bit more often, maybe there's something there with him. And then you also signed Jacob Martin, the edge rusher from the Bears. Again, we basically traded the Bears' Olamide Zaccheaus to get Jacob Martin away. Free agency ended up working out. And I compare him to Dante Fowler. Literally, he's a more athletic Dante Fowler, a higher ceiling Dante Fowler, but also even just production-wise. Remember, Dante Fowler, when he was with the Cowboys in 2023, before he pulled up and got a 10.5 sacks for us in 2024, he had like 4.5 or 5 sacks with the Dallas Cowboys the year before. Jacob Martin had 4.5 or like 5 sacks with the Bears last year. You basically replaced Dante Fowler with him, and they had very similar production and efficiency the year before joining the Commanders in their respective seasons joining the Commanders. He may be just a direct Dante Fowler replacement. He can potentially even be an upgrade, and I still feel like we did a decent job of rushing the passer last year. I think we were like a top 11, top 15 in rushing the passer. Our problem was stopping the run, and they made sure they added a whole bunch of run stoppers, whole bunch of them, our whole D-line run stoppers. Javon Kinlaw, I think, is going to be huge as far as getting after the pass quarterback and stopping the run as well. Eddie Goldman, a true serious zero-tech nose tackler that can eat up double teams is going to help stop the run. And that's my point, because when it comes to stopping the run, that's going to force teams to be in more 3rd and long situations. Last year, because we could not stop the run to save our lives, we were in 3rd and shorts a lot of the time. And opposing offenses knew we could run the ball, we could pass the ball. And the Commanders never knew which one to necessarily focus on stopping, which left us to expose to all of the options. And now, with our ability to stop the run now, teams should be in more 3rd and 8s and longers from now on. And then now it's 3rd and long, obvious passing down. Now our edge rushers know we don't even have to worry about stopping the run. Go get the quarterback immediately. When this ball is snapped, you go get quarterback. Don't worry about nothing else. I think that's going to lead to more sacks and better pass rush production just by itself. But on top of that, the Panthers are releasing 3-time Pro Bowler Jadeveon Clowney, and I forgot he made the Pro Bowl 3 times. It's ridiculous, though, coming out of South Carolina. Even as a Georgia Bulldog fan, I thought he was going to be a perennial All-Pro, but just never worked out that way. Injuries and inconsistencies, never necessarily developing like a real pass rush bag. He's just still relying on his athleticism. But hey, man, the number 1 overall pick in the 2014 draft, Clowney, signed a 2-year deal with the Panthers last offseason. He recorded 5.5 sacks with 9 tackles for loss and 11 quarterback hits in 14 games in 2024. But after just being with the Carolina Panthers for 1 year in his 2-year deal, the Panthers ended up cutting him so that they could save a little under $7.8 million against the cap in 2025. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they cut him to save that money. Maybe they feel like expendable because they already signed Patrick Jones II in free agency, and they drafted Nick Scordon and Princely Yu. Remember, the Panthers took both of those guys in the draft. I was hoping Nick Scordon maybe made it to our 61st overall pick in the 2nd round, but the Panthers weren't playing and scooped him up. And so Maybe the Panthers felt like they could just go ahead and save $8 million worth of cap space almost by releasing Jadeveon Clowney, because you already have another group of edge rushers coming in. But at the same time, it makes you look at Jadeveon Clowney a little funny, because like, okay, they just signed you to a 2-year deal just 1 year ago. And then now they're bringing one guy through free agency that's a relatively big name, and they drafted 2 serious name edge rushers in the draft. So this kind of looked like the writing was already on the wall. Jadeveon Clowney, just based off of what the Panthers did this offseason, you could just already tell that they were about to go ahead and cut him before the season actually started. And so again, I do want to point out that he only had 5.5 sacks in his only year with Carolina. But it is hilarious though, I ain't gonna lie, because it ain't a real NFL offseason if Jadeveon Clowney isn't a free agent at some point during the offseason, man. All is right in the world right now, basically, man, because he just can't stick on one team, man. He's been on 6 teams in the last 7 years. 2018, he was with the Texans. 2019, he was with the Seattle Seahawks. 2020, he was with the Tennessee Titans. And then he stayed with the Cleveland Browns for 2 years, 2021 to 2022. Then he went to the Ravens, remember, in 2023. And then he was on Carolina last year. Again, he signed a 2-year deal. They cut him after he only had 1 year. So I don't know what they saw last year to feel like he could stick around for 2. But whatever he did, again, only having 5.5 sacks in 2024, they were like, yeah, we're good with this. We'll just go ahead and cut him. We'll take whatever dead cap comes with it. We'll save whatever money we can. And then shouts out to Jordan Schultz, because I agree, he brings up a good point. Jadeveon Clowney should have a solid market. But thinking out loud, he feels like a classic late offseason signing for the Ravens. He had a strong 1-year stint there in 2023 with 9.5 sacks. He was way better in 2023 than he was in 2024. That's probably why the Carolina Panthers gave him a 2-year deal. Like, okay, this guy got to 9.5 sacks with the Ravens. Maybe we can get him to 10 or more. And then again, he only had 5.5 for them. They're like, all right, yeah, that was a fluke. But either way, I agree with Jordan Schultz that the Ravens do make a lot of sense there. Even after adding Mike Green and all of the edge rushers they already have, it could just make a lot of sense. And maybe whether it's the Ravens or even the Commanders are looking at them like, maybe we can get 2023 9.5 sack version out of them rather than just 5.5. And if you're looking at the Pro Football Focus grades, I mean, he wasn't as bad as a lot of people think and act like. Now, granted, he's never going to live up to that first overall pick that he was. But last year, he had a 70.8 overall grade, which was 47th out of 211 edge rushers. He had a 73.2 pass rush grade, which was 30th out of edge rushers. All edge rushers in the NFL, he was at least a pretty decent starter technically. And of course, you have 2 edge rushers on the field at any given time, so they felt like he was like one of the better edge rushers in the NFL. 30th again out of 211. And his run defense grade wasn't great, but it also wasn't bad with a 63.4, which was 84th out of 211. And just to compare him to Commanders edge rushers who are currently on the team right now, Dorrance Armstrong is the only person that had a higher pass rush grade with a 78. But at the same time, his overall grade is way lower because his run defense was terrible with a 41.4. And again, Jadeveon Clowney had a run defense grade of a 63.4. So he's a better run defender, only very slightly less of a pass rusher. I think Jadeveon Clowney does fit what we want to do. I can see it. Of course, now what matters is the price. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about with this price, Jadeveon? I mean, the Carolina Panthers are still paying you again from that 2-year contract, so there's no way he's expecting to get a lot of money. For me, the Jadeveon Clowney situation, yes, if first of all, most importantly, if Adam Peters thinks it's a good idea, if Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. want him, cool. But also, if he's very cheap. I'm not signing Jadeveon Clowney to the deal that the Panthers got him for last year. No, you're coming in for nearly a veteran minimum. Again, the Carolina Panthers are already paying you, so there's no way you're out here asking for too much money. But at the same time, after only having a 5.5 sack season, nah, man, you can't be demanding too much money out here, especially since you're only getting older. That boy Jadeveon Clowney is now officially 32 years old. And as a guy that solely relies on his athleticism with not a lot of nuance and pass rush bag, the older you get, the worse it's going to get. Like, I mean, he's going to decline at a rapid rate. It's not like Von Miller that has a super pass rush bag. Even though he's older, he can still get things done with technique and nuance. Jadeveon doesn't have much of that. I'm not saying he's just this super raw prospect coming out of college like he was coming out of South Carolina, but that athleticism diminishes, that production is going to decline at a very rapid rate. So, but I think at 32 years old, he can still help what we're trying to do. I prefer specifically a situational pass rusher like a Von Miller type of guy, but Jadeveon Clowney wouldn't make your team worse, I could say that. And again, if you sign him to a really cheap contract, let him compete throughout training camp, and even if he doesn't make the 53-man roster, what did you necessarily lose from that? So I say throw him out there, man. Dietrich Wise, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Jacob Martin, Cleveland Farrell, Dorrance Armstrong. I mean, throw him out there and let him compete to see who ends up being the better 2 starters out of that group, and let's get it. You know what I'm saying? I know Jadeveon Clowney. I know he's one of those names you hear him and you think people are going to just automatically gush over him just off of the talent that he offered entering the NFL, again, as a first overall pick in the first round. And so some people are going to automatically just scoff at it like, he's never going to live up to that. But he doesn't necessarily have to live up to being a first overall pick to help the Commanders become a better defense, a better team overall, and potentially win some games and go win a Super Bowl. I think he could join this team and be a part of a rotation. I'm not saying he would necessarily go out there and be a starter. I'm not saying even if he does start, he would be a high-end starter, but he could help this team. He could be a part of a rotation, which already Cleveland Farrell keeps getting hurt. Javonte Jean-Baptiste got hurt a couple of times last year, and we're not necessarily dependent on him. And then everybody else are just basically free agency additions outside of Dorrance Armstrong. So, I mean, it's not a lot of continuity in the edge rusher group right now, but between half of them being guys we just signed this offseason, because I think Javon Kinlaw is going to also play a little bit of edge rush as well. And then the other guys can't stay healthy necessarily that often. So, hey, man, I don't see where there's just like this established chemistry where it's like, oh no, don't throw Jadeveon Clowney in there, he's gonna mess up what we already have going. So, and then of course, I mean, pass rush wise, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu are gonna rush the passer a little bit more efficiently this year as well, because now that we have better run stoppers on the D line, they'll have to focus on that less, and they'll be able to go after the quarterback a little bit more often, which is gonna really help our pass rush situation as well. So I'm really excited. We don't necessarily need a Jadeveon Clowney, but at the same time, I think he would be a decent signing if you can get him for very cheap. Now, moving on to the last topic, it has now been officially confirmed from multiple sources that the Commanders will unveil their new alternate helmets in July sometime. And just to let you know, it's the Browns, the Chargers, the Saints, the Steelers, and the Commanders that are all getting new alternate helmets, and they will all be announced in July. So, of course, when those finally get announced, I got y'all. I will definitely update y'all on those. And, I mean, of course, once they actually show them and everything, I'm going to have a video reacting to it. We'll probably have a live stream to react to it. Maybe even do like a call-in show for y'all to give y'all's opinions on the helmets and all of that type of stuff. So make sure you stay tuned. I will definitely keep y'all updated on that. But again, I just wanted to update y'all on that because I just did a video yesterday showing y'all what like a concept of the helmets may look like, and then now we have like an official release date range of the month of July. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. And as promised, random fun fact of the day, the May 8th fun fact from the calendar. NFC champion Washington set an NFL record since broke by scoring 541 points while going 14-2 during the regular season in 1983. Man, we were different back then, man. But hey, man, well, it looks like we're finally going to be different like that again in the future, maybe even as soon as this season. I'm so excited. But of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video, man. Especially, do you agree with a lot of the experts out there that the Commanders, even after going to an NFC championship last year, are even better going into this year? Also, how do you feel about Jayden Daniels getting bigger and Deebo Samuel getting smaller? Are you as hype about it as a fan as I am, thinking that this offense is really about to compete and be one of the best offenses in the NFL, maybe even arguably the best offense in the NFL? Of course, let me know how you feel about Jadeveon Clowney. Should the Commanders go ahead and sign him? What's the limit to what you're willing to sign him for? Like, how expensive of a contract are you willing to offer him if he would have willing to come to the Commanders? Or are you just straight up, no, I don't want anything to do with Jadeveon Clowney at all, and we don't need him for the reasons I've already stated as to why our pass rush will be better naturally going into 2025, even without the addition of a Jadeveon Clowney or any draft pick that we could have gotten? Let me know how you feel about all of that in the comment section. I'm going to try my best to read the reply to as many as possible, but again, I want to knock out a few videos today, so make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you have that bell next to the subscription button clicked in, because it's going to be pretty rapid fire today. I want to do like 2 more before I even go to sleep tonight, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.